Welcome to our Amazon Web Services webinar, Disrupting File Storage Economics with Amazon EFS OneZone. My name is Sarwar Raza, and I'm a Senior Manager of Product Management for the Amazon Elastic File System, EFS. Over the next hour, I'll show you how Amazon EFS and Amazon EFS OneZone specifically can meet both your technical and cost requirements. We'll start with an introduction to the service, where I'll recap the key features and capabilities of Amazon EFS, and then introduce you to our OneZone storage classes, launched in March 2021, and available in all regions where EFS is available. We'll then talk about EFS's automatic lifecycle management capability, a key part of its automatic cost optimization feature, and follow up with some use cases, TCO examples, and wrap up with pointers to resources for further information. If you have questions during this presentation, please feel free to use the Q&A feature of the webinar platform to post your questions, and we'll be happy to address them for you. So let's get started with a quick introduction to Amazon EFS. AWS launched EFS in 2016 to give customers a super simple, set and forget, fully managed, elastic cloud-native file system. You can get up and running in just seconds in as little as 2 clicks and have petabyte-scale elastic storage that's trivial to use. EFS provides the capabilities and integrations you need to confidently run business-critical apps needing shared file storage in the cloud. EFS is elastic, automatically scaling up or down as you add or remove files, and you pay only for what you use. Your performance automatically scales with your capacity, and EFS file systems can scale to petabytes in size. EFS is also highly available and designed to be highly durable. We offer up to 4 nines availability, and we're designed for 11 nines of data durability. And to achieve these levels of availability and durability, all files and directories are redundantly stored within and across multiple availability zones, or redundantly within a single availability zone in the case of OneZone storage. EFS is serverless. You don't need to provision or manage any infrastructure or any capacity. And as your workload scales up, so does your file system, automatically accommodating any additional storage or connection capacity that you need. Speaking of connections, EFS file systems support tens of thousands of concurrent clients, no matter the type. These could be traditional EC2 instances or containers running in one of your self-managed clusters or in one of the AWS container services, ECS or EKS, or Fargate, or in a serverless function running in AWS Lambda. You can also access your file systems from on-premises via AWS Direct Connect and AWS VPN. In terms of performance, EFS file systems provide low, consistent latencies and can scale to tens of gigabytes of throughput and support over 500,000 IOPS. And finally, EFS storage classes provide you with automatic cost optimization and help you achieve an optimal price-performance blend for your workloads. EFS offers standard storage classes and OneZone storage classes, both with the same sets of features. With our native lifecycle management capability, files that you aren't using frequently will automatically be moved from the standard or OneZone storage class to an equivalent lower cost infrequent access storage class, completely transparently to both your users and your applications, saving 92% off of storage costs. Industry estimates, as well as our own usage data, shows us that for customers who use lifecycle management on average, 80% of file data isn't accessed frequently, helping you achieve an effective storage price of just 4.3 cents per gigabyte a month when you're using OneZone storage with lifecycle management, or just 8 cents per gigabyte a month when you're using standard storage with lifecycle management. Customers use Amazon EFS for a wide variety of use cases, and this is just a small sample of customers who rely on EFS for their shared file system requirements today. AWS has 80 availability zones across 25 geographic regions, with plans to launch 15 more availability zones and 5 more AWS regions in Australia, India, Indonesia, Spain, and Switzerland. Today, Amazon EFS is available in all AWS regions, including our latest region in Asia, in Osaka, Japan. In March 2021, we announced Amazon Elastic File System one zone storage classes that reduce storage costs by 47% compared to existing Amazon EFS storage classes while delivering the same features and benefits. One zone storage classes redundantly store data within a single availability zone and are ideal for customers who want cost optimized file storage options for workloads and applications that do not require the level of availability and durability offered by regional Amazon EFS storage classes that redundantly store data across multiple geographically separated AZs. Customers use Amazon EFS as a simple, serverless, elastic file system with AWS and on premises via uh, AWS Direct Connect or AWS VPN for a broad range of workloads. Traditionally, Amazon EFS storage classes, uh, EFS standard and EFS standard and frequent access, have stored data across multiple geographically separated AZs that comprise an AWS region to offer the highest levels of availability and durability. Customers use Amazon EFS for their business critical applications. However, there are some workloads, such as content management or some developer applications, that do not require the multi-AZ availability and durability provided by Amazon EFS's standard storage classes. As a result, these customers either end up paying more for durability and availability than their applications may require, or customers choose to deploy self-managed file systems for these kinds of workload, resulting in a higher TCO and more time spent on management. With new one-zone storage classes for Amazon EFS, customers now have the choice of a simple, serverless, fully managed file system that runs in a single AZ and that costs 47% less than regional Amazon EFS storage classes. One-zone storage classes allow customers to achieve a blended storage price of just 4.3 cents per gigabyte month, while also offering higher availability and durability than self-managed file systems. One-zone storage classes provide these lower costs while delivering the same elasticity and scalability benefits of Amazon EFS Standard and EFS Standard Infrequent Access, as well as features like lifecycle management and integration with AWS compute services, including ECS, EKS, Fargate, and Lambda. One-zone storage classes are ideal for developer workloads like build and staging environments, and applications like analytics, simulation, and media transcoding that do not require the highest levels of availability and durability of regional Amazon EFS storage classes. One-zone storage classes are also ideal for storing replicas, secondary copies of data residing on premises, data that can be easily recreated, and data used by applications with built-in replication and high availability features. OneZone for Amazon EFS offers two storage classes, OneZone and OneZone Infrequent Access. OneZone file systems are also configured with a lifecycle management policy of 30 days to automatically and transparently move less frequently used files to the OneZone Infrequent Access storage class, delivering 92% additional savings on storage costs compared to OneZone storage. All Amazon EFS storage classes are designed for 11 nines of durability. And Amazon EFS regional storage classes provide 4 nines, a 4 nines availability SLA, while OneZone for Amazon EFS provides a 3 nines availability SLA. For added data protection, Amazon EFS file systems in OneZone storage classes are automatically backed up using AWS Backup and can be restored to any AZ within a region or copied to a different region. EFS is highly available and designed to be highly durable. For file systems using standard storage, EFS offers a 4 nines availability SLA and were designed for 11 nines of data durability. To achieve these levels of durability and availability, all files and directories are redundantly stored within and across multiple availability zones. This means that when you write data to Amazon EFS for a file system using standard storage classes, the write isn't acknowledged until the data is durably written across all 3 availability zones. EFS file systems using standard storage can thus withstand the full loss of a single AZ while still providing the same quality of service in the other AZs. This kind of redundancy is transformational for businesses that are used to operating within one primary data center and perhaps a second for DR. And taking it a step further, you can get additional data protection with AWS Backup, which protects data by storing your backup in 3 availability zones and is a completely independent software stack, giving you diversity in both the physical infrastructure as well as software implementation. As I shared earlier, EFS One Zone is also highly available and designed to be 11.9 durable and offers a 3 nines availability SLA. To achieve these levels of availability and durability, all files and directories are redundantly stored within a single availability zone. Now, because EFS One Zone storage classes store data in a single AZ, data stored in these storage classes may be lost in the event of a disaster or other fault that affects all copies of the data within the availability zone, or in the event of availability zone destruction. To provide an extra level of data protection, file systems using One Zone storage are configured with automatic backup. So while EFS is designed for 11 nines of durability, the additional data protection uses natively integrated AWS Backup that allows you to protect your file system's data from accidental deletion by a user or an unwanted override by an application. So in addition to just using the automatic backup feature, you can back up your file systems using just a single API call or a single click in the EFS console. And you can also configure tag-based policies to configure all of your file system backups at once, along with rules on when to migrate data from warm storage to cold storage, and define retention policies for how long to keep your backups. In the event you need to restore your data, you can either choose to restore a whole file system, or you can specify one or more files or folders to restore. So let's talk about economics. Amazon EFS is cost optimized. There are no minimum commitments or fees, no need to provision any storage in advance. And in addition to high availability and durability, you can use Amazon EFS with spot instances in multiple AZs to save up to 90% on your compute costs. EFS also supports automatic lifecycle management to lower your storage costs rather, without requiring a change to any of your workloads and workflows. Let's talk a little bit more about this. So how does EFS lifecycle management work? When you create a new file system in the EFS console, lifecycle management is enabled by default. For file systems that don't have lifecycle management enabled, you can easily enable it with a single click in the EFS console or by making an API call. EFS file systems transparently serve data from both storage classes, standard and standard IA, or one zone and one zone IA, providing a common file system namespace so you don't have to worry about which of your files are actively used and which are infrequently accessed. So if you're wondering how many days it takes for your files to move from standard storage to infrequent access, we understand that this may vary based on your application and your use case. So you can configure this using lifecycle policies. As a user, you set a lifecycle policy of 7, 14, 30, 60, or 90 days. And if a file hasn't been used in that period of time, it is automatically moved into the infrequently accessed storage class. So in having this capability, EFS lifecycle management eliminates the need to manually manage your data to optimize for cost. And remember, you get all of the EFS features regardless of which storage tier, frequent or infrequent access, your data is stored in. So what does this mean for dollars and cents? With EFS, assuming you are using lifecycle management and your data access pattern matches the industry average 80-20 split between infrequent and frequently accessed data, your effective storage price is just 4.3 cents per gigabyte month for one zone storage and just 8 cents per gigabyte month for standard storage. That's all in. At this price, you get all the fully managed features EFS provides right out of the box. And if you do a total if you do a TCO analysis comparing this to running your own file system storage infrastructure, what you'll find is that EFS is more than 80% more cost efficient than doing it yourself. What are some of the use cases that customers are using EFS OneZone for? So OneZone storage classes are ideal for developer workloads like build and staging environments, applications like analytics, simulation, and media transcoding that do not require the highest levels of availability and durability of regional Amazon EFS storage classes. And they're also ideal for storing replicas, secondary copies of data residing on premises, data that can be easily recreated, and data used by applications with built-in replication and high availability features. Let's dive into a couple of these. So you can use OneZone storage classes to simplify your DevOps processes. Customers find them ideal for the pre-prod, dev, and QA environments, where coupled with automatic backups, they get the cost and performance they need for their shared file system requirements. Web serving and content management systems require shared data access across multiple containerized application instances or serverless functions with data persistence and data durability. Examples of this include applications like WordPress and Drupal that benefit from scaling out to multiple instances for performance and redundancy and need to share uploads, plugins, and templates across multiple instances. Many websites don't require multi-AZ availability and durability, making OneZone a great fit for those customers looking to optimize their storage spending without compromising on the EFS features they love. Now, you've told us that for many of your simulation and analytics workloads, the source and destination data reside somewhere other than EFS. But EFS is a key part of the processing pipeline that takes the source data and turns it into something more valuable. We heard your request. You don't need multi-AZ availability and durability for early and intermediate stages of such workflows, especially if the source data can be easily referenced or recreated. And of course, we have lots of customers who want to use EFS for a wide variety of secondary storage use cases, including database and application backups. Now that we've talked about potential use cases, let's talk about some alternatives you may have considered. In particular, let's take a look at how you might go about building a single AZ file system in the AWS cloud. From a pure cost perspective, at a bare minimum, you're going to incur spending on EC2 instances to host the file system, and you'll be provisioning and paying for the EBS volumes providing your persistent storage. Now let's keep things very, very simple and ignore the fact that you are now engaging in undifferentiated heavy lifting. You have assumed the role of a storage infrastructure architect and a storage administrator and will be responsible for the upkeep and maintenance of the file system you are provisioning. And you have much lower durability and availability than you can get using EFS. So let's break this out with a simple numerical example. We'll use two different storage volume types, so we have some level of price equivalency between frequently accessed and infrequently accessed storage. Now notice that you'll have to come up with your own tiering strategy and find a way to orchestrate the movement of files between these two storage types yourself, since there is no automatic lifecycle management on a self-built system. But let's put that aside for a second. Notice also that because EFS is completely elastic, you don't have to over-provision your storage. You pay only for what you use. In this very simple example, EFS provides 84% savings relative to a DIY OneZone solution that has lower availability and durability and does not have any other EFS features or native integrations. Another alternative you may consider is a single site on-premise system. For this example, I've listed out a subset of the items you'll need to procure and manage before being able to store a single byte of data. I say a subset of items because I'm still not accounting for the time and effort involved in the purchase or lease of the required hardware and software, nor the acquisition of specialized data center or campus real estate, or making sure that you have the right power, the right network bandwidth, setting up and managing connectivity, provisioning and managing storage, compute and networking infrastructure, and patching. Updating software, especially storage software, is labor intensive and requires specialized skills. So compare all of this to the effective storage price of 4.3 cents per gigabyte month that you can achieve using Amazon EFS One Zone Storage with just a couple of clicks. It really is a no-brainer. How do I get started with One Zone storage classes? It's actually very simple. You get started using the EFS console, API, CLI, or the SDK to choose your desired availability and durability for your EFS file system. Pick one zone, select the AZ you want your file system in, and you're done. You get started in just a few seconds. As we wrap up, I want to thank you for your time and leave you with 3 key points. First, remember the 4.3 cents blended effective storage cost that you can achieve using Amazon EFS One Zone. This is by far one of the best deals in cloud storage that you can get, given all of the native integrations and the capabilities that EFS provides. Also, additional data protection. We provide automatic backup policies to back up your file system every 24 hours to AWS Backup, which provides a 3AZ 11 nines durable backup solution. And all of this without giving up any of the EFS features and integrations that you love, including elasticity, scalability, lifecycle management, and integration with all AWS compute models. For further information, please see the linked blog, our documentation, and we welcome any feedback and questions. Our website also features blogs, white papers, reference architectures, a TCO calculator, 10-minute tutorials, and documentation on everything we've talked about here today. Just go to aws.amazon.com/EFS. With that, I want to thank you for your time and hope that you have enjoyed this webinar. Thank you.